Okay, medications. So somebody tell me your cocktail. Let's say we have a 6-month-old and they have RSV, our favorite viral friend. It keeps us all in business for 6 months out of the year. And they are failing both on 1 and 2, right? Mm-hmm. And we are going to intubate them. They are 3 months old. Somebody tell me your drugs and what order you are going to give them in. Okay.
First thing.
Is that it?
And atropine on the side.
Fit more and more for pain control.
Okay. Everybody okay with that? Now tell me what order you're going to give them in. Because it makes a big difference.
Sedation, analgesic, paralytic.
And where's the atropine?
Or even
And then forward.
Okay. These can probably be interchanged. Okay, doesn't really matter, all right? Then, if they're 3 months, okay, are you going to hold the atropine or are you going to give it? Everybody, okay, you have to decide. Who's going to give it? Raise your hand. Who's going to just have it drawn up and in reserve? Okay. What's the rule on that? Or, I guess there is no rule for anything, but when would you, at what point would you just draw it up and have it on the side? Okay, how old?
Oh.
Older child is correct answer. 3 days and 1 month? Or excuse me, 3 months and 1 day?
Over 8 years.
No.
Come on, somebody make some up.
And then at least over a year. I know it's the younger they are, the stronger the vagal response.
Correct. Okay. My general rule is if they're older than 2 years, I do not automatically give it. Okay, I have it drawn up and in reserve. All right. Do I have some study with literature to back me up on that? No. All right. But that's pretty well accepted. Now, if I'm in a very controlled environment and controlled situation, I will actually push that down to about 6 months of age, okay? All right, because what happens when you give atropine?
You increase the heart rate.
Okay, so if their heart rate's 160 already, because they're, you know, for whatever reason, their ventricular function's down, they're dehydrated, they're hurting, they've lost half their blood volume. I mean, what are you going to do to them? Help them?
Increase their oxygen.
You're going to increase their oxygen consumption. You're going to actually drive down their stroke volume, right? Because now you've pumped their rate up and you've actually decreased their ability to compensate, all right? So you have to kind of, ideally, you kind of weigh that, all right? But in general, you know, for sure, if they're, you know, under 2 months, I go ahead and give it unless there's a particular situation, okay? But I always have it drawn up and ready because you just never know, all right? And if it's drawn up in the right dose and it's sitting right there, it's a piece of cake to give, okay? And it works very quickly, right? All right, so then you give your atropine, and then you give your paralytic last, okay? All right? So these are what? 80% of the kids that we tube and transport? Yep. Less? Okay, you can't disagree with me, but not tell me less or more.
Season.
Well, of course. But I mean, it's respiratory. ventilation. Well, and usually it's inadequate oxygen. Okay, now let's change the scenario. Let's make it a 6-year-old. Okay, pedestrian versus auto. Riding his bike, no helmet, whacked at 50 miles an hour, went flying over the car and landed on his head.
What's the most
trauma?
All right, what's your drug list going to be? And somebody tell me why. What extra precautions are you going to have to worry about or just take?
You're gonna have to worry about
Increased
increased
isolation.
ICP and
All right.
C5.
And what else do we always assume?
Aspiration.
Okay. All right. So, we talked about this. Okay. What do we do for this?
Hold.
Manual
Right? I
ventilation.
mean, it's physical, right? I mean, it's hold them or, in correct alignment. Okay. What do we do for this?
If I was someplace I could do it, I don't
Okay. So it affects your drug choice, right?
Right.
Okay. All right. Okay. So are you going to err on the side of light sedation or heavy sedation?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Do you want the patient to cough just in case you missed a little on your sedation?
No.
So what are you going to be sure and give them?
Paramedic.
Don't you want to choose an agent that won't lower the blood pressure because of the MOL?
Okay, wait, I'm gonna. Okay, all right. So you want to make sure they are deep, okay, as opposed to I think we got enough sedation on. All right. You want to give a paralytic. Okay. He's 6 years old. Are you gonna hold the atropine or give the atropine? Okay. Okay. Now, let's talk about what drugs we're actually going to use. Does anybody know the classic ICP cocktail? Probably used mostly from the 50s through the early 90s.
Is it that? Pavulon?
What was the favorite paralytic of choice until the last 15 years?
Succinylcholine?
Sucks. Okay,
Sucks.
that's the paralytic.
Sucks with-
All right, but
sucks
what
with-
about the other that's much more important?
It's a spin.
Thiopental. Okay. Okay, y'all know all these by heart? You got to.